How do I handle long rest and keep your players from abusing them? So that is a very important question, Nick. Incredibly important. That comes down to the style, tone, theme, feel, and setting of your game. If you're running a game where it is a pulp action, high octane field fantasy, where you are just going up against awesome bad guys and you're shooting off fireballs and the fighters swinging their sword all the time, then where does the long rest fit in? Does the long rest fit in a game where you're trying to be epic and badass and awesome at all times? Maybe, maybe not. What I will tell you is the whole point of the long rest in the game versus earlier editions of D&D is a style of pacing of the game. So in 5e, 8 hours, long rest, you get literally everything back except all of your hit dice. You only get half of your hit dice back. But more often than not, that really doesn't matter, right? Because you get all your other resources back. Versus, we go back to original D&D, you take a long rest, you get 1 hit point back per day. You can see the vast difference between, the pacing of the game. In old school D&D, if you took 5 points of damage, you were out for 5 days until you got it back. Or you could continue adventuring on, of course, but it was very dangerous. Versus in 5e, I literally almost died. I'm going to take a nap real quick and keep on chugging along like it's Skyrim. So, first you have to ask yourself, what is the tone, feel, theme, setting, and pace of the game? How does long rest fit into it? And then you start dissecting, okay, how do we make the long rest not... Do I not like the long rest? How do I change this? The simple solution, vanilla mechanics of 5e, is that the way you handle a long rest is you put the quest or the adventure on a timer. Hey, the cult captured, the town mayor, and they're going to sacrifice the mayor tonight. You have to get to the bottom of the dungeon by tonight, and if you do not, the mayor is dead. You have to chug your way through the dungeon. It doesn't matter how much damage you take. You've got to get through the dungeon, or else the mayor's dead. Oh, hey, the dragon, captured the unicorn, and the dragon says that it will enact the unholy ritual at midnight. You have until midnight to crawl your way up to the dragon to free the unicorn. Unfortunately, that style of pacing is not for everybody, right? Some people don't want a game where you have to go now. And that directly contrasts with 5e mechanics. Because in 5e mechanics, unless it's go, now, then what does combat mean? What does taking damage mean? What does using resources mean? There is such an immense amount of details considering the rest. There's so many things to think about. There's so many in-world implications, out-of-game implications, character implications, world implications. There's so many things to consider. So, in short, Nick, what I'll tell you is how I handle long rest and keep my players from abusing them comes down to the style of adventure or game that I'm running. In some, it doesn't matter. In others, I have the quest be, you have to do it today. Sometimes I change up the long rest rules. Like a perfect example being, I made the long rest rule one time where it was short rest is 8 hours, long rest is a week. And thus, because the short rest was 8 hours and the long rest was a week, I could have the timers be a little bit, more lenient. Like, oh, you don't have to deal with the dragon tonight, but the dragon's going to sacrifice the unicorn in 5 days. Thus, you still are working under, the same principle, but you get more time. There's a lot of things to consider, and you're going to have to discuss that with yourself, and you're also going to have to discuss that with your players at your table about how you want to handle rest, because your players are absolutely going to use and abuse everything that they can because they want to succeed. So don't fault them for saying like, oh, we took 1 damage, let's take a long rest. You can't really fault them for that, because it's really up to you to provide that incentive to keep moving along.